Dear lecturers, my name is Undu, and I'm a management scientist. Basically, what my job entails is conducting organizational studies, evaluations, design systems and procedures, and simplifications of studies, and preparing for managerial problems and issues. An issue in our hand today is climate change. Climate change can often be seen as a very broad and vague topic, but what is tangible when it comes to climate change are disaster rates. The European Environmental Agency and the American EPA and other international organizations have been seeing a rising trend in disasters over the past decades. And my position as a management scientist is to manage these disasters and emergencies. In order to doing so, the role basically is to prevent loss of life and destruction of economical and political structures. And I think that management scientists play a very crucial role when it comes to managing disasters and emergencies. And I'll elaborate on that further. Now I'd like to elaborate on the cruciality of a management scientist. Well, first of all, I want to focus on our research and why that's crucial, because our research focuses on past events. And those past events, are, of course, these disasters and emergencies across history. Take a look at the Dutch flooding disaster of 1953. While it's a very horrible and tragic event, we did learn to be resilient and prepared for future floodings. And currently, we could learn a lot now for the current disaster we're in. While it's not a climate change disaster, COVID-19 is a telltale story of how management scientists was really needed to be prepared for this disaster. And when it comes down to cooperation, I think we're very, again, limited when it comes to climate change, because we could work with everybody. We could work with economical, we could work with political, and even military data sources to form a coherent strategy and managerial structures to combat climate change. But then again, I have to be honest, many things that deal with human error or social studies do not mesh well with management science, because sociology, philosophy, and even political sciences deal with human error, and we work with structures that are supposed to, convey the way of how people should act, but we do not know how people will act in these structures. Then again, it's very hard to predict that. And again, practical solutions, there are 4 pillars that are basically for the practical solutions, and that is vulnerability, resilience, preparedness, and recovery. All these 4 things make us basically prepared to solve any current or past or even future disaster or emergency events. Finally, I would like to comment on the resolution I was sent. I'll first start with the good things of the resolution. My resolution, by the way, was the European Green Party resolution. And adaptation is essential. In lines 30 to 33 basically focus on that. They basically want to have more leeway for the least developed countries, because they need more help when it comes to crises. And I thought that was very good. The Loss and Damage program definitely aims to do that. And I know that as a management scientist, that least developed countries do have more risk for loss of life and damage to their economical and political structures. So that is a good aspect of this report. Secondly, I thought the capacity building program, or CBF for short, that aims to improve knowledge and knowledge and subject matter on the climate change, I thought it was very good, because knowledge is power, and I think as management scientists that would prove to be more viable to long-term solutions. But now I'll come to the bad stuff. I'll first start with the idea of having WEO restrictions on fossil fuels, basically saying the same restrictions that the tobacco industry has, but then for the fossil fuel agencies. I think that's a very bad thing, because I think cooperation is more important. And fossil fuels are energy agencies. They would like to adapt too. So dismissing them and trying to attack them is not going to work. So I think working together is maybe a better option. Finally, the bad thing I thought too was in lines 62 to 65, they basically dismissed nuclear energy. I understand the threat of nuclear energy, but again, I think we should learn from past mistakes. I mean, past nuclear meltdowns like Chernobyl and Fukushima are bad. But again, as a management scientist, we want to adapt and learn from our mistakes. And I think we could do that. And I don't think nuclear energy should be dismissed, because nuclear energy does reduce CO2 emissions quite substantially. Finally, I would like to comment on what things I should thought I should be added. I'll first start with renewable energy solutions. They do talk about them a bit, but I think it was a bit lackluster because I think they should really detail their approach to it, because renewable energy solutions are also in the business sector. And then there's the final thing I want to be added, and that's the business sector. They again dismissed this business sector. And I think the business sector is the most powerful entity. If you really want to change the climate, you should really focus on business structures, because there's a lot of management sciences and those things too to solve the climate issue. And that is basically my final thoughts on this thing. I hope you learned a lot from my speech. I hope you learned the role and the viability of the climate management scientist, because we have a lot to offer when it comes to solving the climate change